What's correct, like it's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so we're talking tight ends, start, sits. The bye week doesn't hit us too hard. I mean, maybe Jacob Hollister or Evan Ingram, who was hurt anyway last week. So it shouldn't hit us too hard, but it's still a tough position to project. So let's see if we can maybe get you some good options there at tight end. But before we get into that, hey, if you enjoy the content, go ahead, leave a thumbs up. It's much appreciated, much obliged. And become a bro and subscribe. I put out content quite frequently. Become part of the community, man. It's a great community we got here. And, you know, everyone talks about how I slur words and can't talk right. Well, whoop-de-doo. I don't know why I said that. But, yeah, I'm doing the Twitch. I'm getting back on that. I want to do that more consistently. If you're interested in that, I game a lot, so I like to game on the Twitch. So why do I say on the Twitch? I sound 80 years old. But I game on the Twitch, and I'll be doing Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's a nice, chill game where I can just play, relax, and I could look at chat a lot. I could focus on talking to y'all guys. So let's talk, and we can talk football. I love talking football. And I got a big board. I got a NFL draft big board coming out Friday. So be on the look for that. I might post something in the community tab. So be aware. And I got a mock draft coming out next Tuesday too. A new one. Like I said, I got new ones coming every 2 weeks for the remainder of the season. So be on the look for that. I got a new graphic for that. So it ought to look pretty dope. I like it. I think it looks really cool. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's get into this. Let's do the dang thing. Let's start with Thursday. We're talking the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns, man. And what is let's start with the sits. Browns tight ends, they're sits. Demetrius Harris, he only had 2 targets last game. I know it's a good matchup against Pittsburgh, but I won't trust it. Ricky Seals-Jones is questionable. I don't think he's rosterable. And Vance McDonald, I'm gonna go with the start. I know he hasn't produced, but he saw 8 targets last game. He's getting targeted. It's a good matchup against the Browns. They're 20th against opposing tight ends. So yeah, based on that, based on the climate we're in as far as tight ends, you can never predict the position. It's pretty tough. Probability is he might give you a decent game. He'll give you points. I like points. And then Buffalo versus Miami. Gesicki. Oh man, I think he's a sit. It's a tough matchup. Buffalo, they're first against opposing tight ends. He saw 6 targets last week, but it's hard to expect him to produce in this matchup. It's tough. And then Tyler Kroft, we don't have to worry about. I think he's not cutting into Knox snaps. I have Knox as a sit though. I think he's a risky start though. I think if you really have to, you can start him because he's starting to see more volume. He saw 6 targets last week, so yeah, risky start. Go for it if you can. Dallas versus Detroit. I think all tight ends in this matchup are actually a start. Jason Witten saw 5 targets last week. The Detroit, they've been 25th against opposing tight ends. And then Blake Jarwin, he saw 4 targets last week. So he's been involved in this offense. I know I've been saying he's touchdown dependent. I still believe that to be the case, but I don't think he's a bad start if you really have to start him. And then TJ Hawkinson, he's got a great matchup. And he's had great opportunity. He's seen 6 targets, and he saw 6 targets in the last game. He's been seeing more targets. He's been targeted heavily in the red zone. It's a good, like I said, it's a good matchup. Dallas, they're 29th against opposing tight ends, so it's a tough tight end climate we live in, man. It's climate change. So again, he's not a bad option. And then we are going to talk about the Colts versus the Jaguars. Let's start with the Jaguars. There's no one to talk about for the Jaguars. But Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron, I think they're both startable, even with Brissett back. Jaguars, they've been middle of the pack. They're 16th against opposing tight ends, so they're both viable. That's the best I could say about it. And then Denver versus Minnesota. Noah Fant. He's a risky play because he's probably going to be matched up against stinking Kendricks, the linebacker there for Minnesota, or Harrison Smith. I think he's a sit. It's a tough matchup for him. But Minnesota, I think both guys are starts here. Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith Jr. because they're being more involved in the offense since Adam Thielen went down. Especially Irv Smith Jr. He's a low end start, but it's a tight end position. Anyone you pick that's like not a top 5 tight end is a low end start. And then Kyle Rudolph, I said it last week, he has the touchdown upside, and guess what? He has the red zone upside. Bam, he had 2 touchdowns last week. I think he's a good start in what could be a tough matchup here. And then Saints versus the Bucks. Let's talk about Jared Cook. He's a start. The Bucks, they're 31st against opposing tight ends. They're just as bad as Arizona. He saw 10 targets last game. I like that. That tells me he will see a lot of opportunity. As far as OJ Howard, I said he was a start last week. One and done. I'm done with OJ Howard. That's all I needed you for was last week, OJ. And then the Jets versus the Redskins. Not a lot to talk about as far as starts in this game. Actually, there's nothing to talk about. Chris Herndon, he went to IR. Ryan Griffin, I know, I don't like it now that Chris Herndon is gone. I know Darnold targets his tight ends, but I think it's a sit. Redskins are 13th against opposing tight ends, so it's a tough one to go on. And then everyone for the Redskins, Jordan Reed, I don't think he's going to play again. That sucks, man. He has so much talent. And then Vernon Davis, he's irrelevant. Everyone in this matchup for the Redskins at tight end is irrelevant. So let's just talk about the Falcons versus the Panthers. Let's start with Austin Hooper. He should be out for a few weeks. There's really no one behind him that's going to pick up the slack there. So no one on the Falcons is startable at tight end. And then Greg Olson's a great start every week. He's been consistent. He's been loyal. Yeah, faithful. You faithful, Greg Owens. You faithful. Oh, why I said it like that. Slurring my words. It's all this medication I'm on for my sore throat. But and my congestion. Let's talk about Houston versus the Ravens. What? Darren Fells, he's got the touchdown upside. He's a start. Every time I say he's a sit, he plays well, and then I go to start him, and then does nothing. I think he's fine. He'll hit some weeks, other weeks he won't. I think this is a decent matchup here. And then I actually think both Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle are fine starts. I was worried that Nick Boyle was going to cut into Mark Andrews' share in the offense, but he did a little bit, but Andrews still got his. He went out and got his. He got like 2 touchdowns. So I think both these guys are startable. It's a tough matchup. Houston's 9th against opposing tight ends, but I don't think that matters much in this Raven offense. Arizona versus San Fran. Surprise, surprise. Charles Clay and Max Williams, they ain't startable. Let's not talk about Arizona tight ends. But if Kittle is healthy, obviously he's a start. I don't think his backup, was it Dwelly? I don't think he's startable, so really Kittle's the only guy I'd be willing to start in this matchup if healthy. Bengals versus the Raiders. Both these guys, Tyler Eifert and Darren Waller, I think are fine starts. I think Tyler Eifert has gotten some upside. He's gotten an uptick in production because Ryan Finley is his quarterback. Guess what? Rookie quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks that are just coming into the game, that typically don't see a lot of time, coaches will make it so the quarterbacks will rely more on their safety blankets. So tight ends and running backs, those guys always see an uptick in opportunity and an uptick in production. That's what happened to Tyler Eifert, so I like him in this matchup. Plus, the Raiders are 30th against opposing tight ends. And then Waller, I think, is a fine start. It's tough. I know he's been kind of on the decline recently, and I don't think they'll need him much in this matchup, but I think he'll get like 4 reception. He'll get you a solid 4 to 5 points. So I don't think there's a ton of upside to Waller, but I think he's a fine start. I think it's a safe start, I should say. And then we got the Patriots versus the Eagles. Ben Watson, he's a sit. The tight end position is irrelevant for the Patriots right now. And then I think Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are good starts. I like to think the Eagles might try to implement or emulate what the Ravens did with their tight ends in their matchup. And the Eagles run a lot of 2 tight end sets, especially if Alshon Jeffrey's out. Both these guys should see an uptick in volume despite the tough matchup. And then we're going Sunday night, Bears versus Rams. The Bears don't have a starting tight end. That's just it is what it is. I think Burnen's out, and what is it? Shaheen. He's not really used as a red zone threat. He doesn't get targeted as is, so there's really nothing to talk about for the Bears. So, but Gerald Everett, I think he's a fine start. The Bears are 26 against opposing tight ends. He scored 10 or more points in 4 games this year. He saw an uptick of volume last week with Brandon Cooks out, so I definitely think he will fall more into he's the 2 or the 3 option there in the passing game. So I like it. I like it a lot. Monday night though, man, we got 2 guys that are guaranteed starts. Chiefs versus Chargers. You're starting Hunter Henry, you're starting Travis Kelce. Ain't nothing to talk about there. But that's it for the video. Go ahead and do the YouTube thing. It's much appreciated, much obliged, and I'll see y'all in the next one. But until then, you be easy, my friends. Later.